Is today the day the comedy died? Like the day the music died? I didn't see it yet. I'll see it when it comes out. But the Kevin Hart roast, social media is already inundated with raunchy quotes from the roast that try to sound offensive so that people can get all nasty and indignant and self-righteous about, oh my God, it's so offensive. And he said a gay joke about Tony Hinchcliffe and they made a George Floyd joke and a Charlie Kirk joke. And I'm like, yes, that's what roasting is. You're not part of it because it's not for you. Because not everything is for everyone. Years and years ago, I tried to get my family to go see Mudhoney in Chicago because they were there. And the jokes, Mudhoney, it must be silly and oh, it's probably druggy music. And now years later, my brother's like, damn, Mudhoney is great band. I was like, yeah, I tried to get you to go see him years ago, but you guys thought it was all too silly and funny because you didn't, because they weren't Billy Joel. So, and no offense to Billy Joel, I love Billy Joel. He was just not included in New York Times top 30 songwriters. But Young Thug is in there. Young Thug and Bad Bunny are in, but no Billy Joel or Elton John. So, okay, New York Times, you get more and more credible all the time. But I digress, because not everything is for everyone. Subversive, new, good, vital, engaging rock music is not for the New York Times. They get that 3-4 years later when it's a phenomenon and people are fucking storming the concerts and they're selling billions of tickets and they're on the cover of Rolling Stone. Then the New York Times wakes up and go, oh, Kurt Cobain, I know who that is. He's a musician. Then he gets shot and it's a big deal. So these people don't know anything about art or comedy or music or any of that. The essence of roasts is to make people cringe and groan along with the laughter's not enough. Laughter's funny, ha ha ha. This is cringe zone. This is pro skills. Roasts are for people above. If this is the all-star game, if you don't like baseball, why the heck would you go to the all-star game, which is just a spectacle, an exhibition of the guys showing off their skills at the best they can? And the way these guys show off skills is by doing what they do in the green room, on the bus, on the plane, in the bar, in the restaurant, when you're traveling with other comedians, is to try to one-up each other all the time. Back in the days, when I was a kid, I learned this from a Richard Pryor record as a little kid. There's a thing from the 50s and 60s and 70s, particularly in the black community, that was called playing the dozens. And playing the dozens, to the best of my knowledge, is basically just bullshitting each other, working on your chops, riffing on your nasty comedy, saying mother jokes, fat jokes, this jokes, that jokes. And the guys who were self-deprecating, you had a Dom DeLuise back in the day, always made fat jokes about himself. Rick Panett, always fat jokes about himself. Fluffy, fat jokes about himself all the time. So of course, when you're with friends and all that, they're gonna nail you on the fat stuff or the other stuff. Tony Hinchcliffe has always been this openly, like, I'm the nastiest fucking comedian in the world, and I'm gay. So what are you going to do about it? That's the Tony Hinchcliffe kind of stance, in a way, in his roast comedy. So he's inviting these jokes. And then when you've done a million gay Tony Hinchcliffe jokes, you better have a good one, because there aren't that many. So Pete Davidson reached out there and he made it something like, he somehow analogized it to George Floyd and not breathing or having something in his throat. Pete Davidson was basically leaning towards Tony Hinchcliffe having a phallic type thing in his throat. It's just horrid, gross humor, because the idea is to get a cringe. If you take it out of context, every joke should be disgusting. Every joke should be offensive. Every joke should be awful, especially out of context. But that's the whole point of context. You need to see what they're trying to do. They go around the dais and they nail everyone as best they can, or as much as they within their allotted time. And then everybody else does the same thing. You'll see one, I don't remember, Tony Hinchcliffe, they had him on a regular show with regular people. Like, he's probably going to do the Emmys or the Grammys sometime if the people weren't so goofed about, the edginess of the comedy. Because he worked the whole stage. I can't remember one of the event shows. Went around the horn and roasted everybody. And I was like, fucking Hinchcliffe is a real deal. I thought he was just kind of like the host of that Austin crowd thing, But no, that dude he can walk the walk and talk the talk. I mean, he was doling it out impressively. So yeah, that's why he does what he does, and that's why it's become a phenomenon, and that's why Austin has become this epicenter with Joe Rogan having comedy there, because it's like, people, if you're gonna censor comedy, it's all over. You can wreck music with parental warnings and take everything off. But it's the world that's changed in a way, and it's for the worse to me because I mentioned Rogan, and I'm going to mention Howard Stern here, which throws everybody into tizzies. But hear me out when I'm talking about it. This has been something I wished for. Is like now I wish it didn't happen. Like be careful what you wish for. And we always wish that like we could curse normally, like conversationally, like we do when we speak. I can barely even probably do it for YouTube, but conversationally we curse, we talk, we chop it up, we say funky stuff, we bust on each other. That's what friends kind of do. And but throughout kind of television history, interviews have always been just fake, fluffy, goofy, 2 minutes or 3 minutes of scripted shit they work out in advance and then come out and it's like, oh, we get a couple of yucks. And it's like, whatever the case may be, you've seen it on these talk shows and stuff. But then slowly over the past few years, and some of it Howard Stern had something to do with, and whatever, credit, don't credit, I don't really care. I'm just pointing this as a cultural reference. And Joe Rogan started to usher in, and maybe, some of the TV guys, what's his name? Charlie something, I forget. Jesus, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. But interviewers started to go a little deeper in regular interviews and talk like normal people. You still can't curse on television, but they started to blot it out a little bit. Or it was on cable TV. Or actually, Bill Maher actually had a lot to do with it. You notice these are all guys who are all considered sort of right now, rightish, but we're all liberals. We're all Democrats, but now we're all over here somehow. We moved, they think we moved right, but actually they all moved way fucking off the reservation left into somewhere. But meanwhile, you could put us all right in the middle, And so interviews started to get more real, more crafty, more interesting, get to tell about people's lives. They stopped lying. They spoke the way they spoke. It was a very refreshing and cool thing. That's why Howard Stern interviews took an hour and a half, 2 hours, no commercials. Just sitting there talking, chopping up shit. The guys playing a little bit of music, talking about how the song was created. Really good process stuff that you never got before. Howard Stern asked questions like a fan, and that's why sometimes it worked. And he always pretended he did homework, but he didn't really know anything because he's a nebbish. So, he'd be checking out these rock stars like a gawking fan, but asking good questions. So that's interviewing became more real. You got to learn more about these people. So roasts, whether you know it or not, because I've been watching since the Dean Martin roast when I was a little kid. I used to Foster Brooks imitation. You don't even know who Foster Brooks is. That was me as a kid. I used to do Paul Lynde. I didn't know Paul Lynde. I was like, Paul Lynde. But he was on Hollywood Squares. He was hysterical. He was on all these shows. Roasts are what comedians do to each other back fucking stage. It's just rip each other a new ass because it's hard to get a laugh out of guys who get heckled every night. They could tear hecklers apart. They could screw you up. They don't care. And so it's about being edgy. Now they can't do that with everyone. If I come back to buy a CD and I try to roast them or I try to heckle or make a joke, they might make something back. They got to be polite. It's business. They're selling CDs now. But go have a drink with them at the bar after and say something about his shoes or something. For 10 minutes, you're going to get your annihilated. It's just fucking ripped from head to toe. A new asshole. Your entire body will just be one asshole when they're done with you. You just get ripped. These guys would walk downstairs. I used to hear the stories about so Patrice O'Neill and Bill Burr and some other guys. They're sitting at the table down there, and another comedian like a Kevin Hart, that level, will come in and go, "Oh fuck." Go, "Oh shit, do I even want to come in? Do I want to go? You know what it's going to be." And so they go say hi to the boys. Oh, and as soon as they hire the boys, it's over. It's over. It's on. The roast is on. The dozens is on. It's the smackdown is on. And it's one of the most beautiful things in life. It's one of the greatest things I do with my friends. I have certain friends who all we don't see each other for years at a time, but we leave phone messages going. They're like, "Hey, don't make me come over there and slap the cock out of your mouth. Or give me a call, you fucking homo." You know what I mean? It's all stupid stuff. But it makes life more colorful. It's flavorful. If you're not into roasts, fine. A lot of people aren't into MMA. A lot of people aren't into sports. Some people aren't into opera. Some people aren't into Broadway. I could watch roasts all day. I could watch hockey fights all night. I could watch MMA all in my sleep. I can't watch Broadway musicals. And I'm a musician. They're contrived and goofy and the lyrics are stupid and it's like singing a story and I get the talent. I love it. I appreciate the sets. I can understand the whole thing. I get it. I would donate to it. but I'd rather not go. When it's time to go to the show, I'd rather go to the comedy club. I'd rather hear all that. So everything is not for everyone. There was a great years ago in Austin at a tattoo shop. I actually got a tattoo there. I had a sign that I loved, and it still speaks to today about so much more than what it's actually talking to. And it just said, people who have tattoos don't care that you don't like tattoos. Because there's so many people would come into the shop. This was in Austin. It was on 6th Street. It was legal back then. It wasn't legal where I got mine, some of them, but this was legal already. Texas was legal. And you'd go in, and there'd always be people going, I don't know, I don't like tattoos. Do they hurt? They look weird. What did you do? Why did you get that? And the people in the shop are like, who gives a shit? If you don't like it, then don't get one, Why are you even at a tattoo shop if you don't like tattoos? I don't go into fucking Louis Vuitton shops or Coach to look at pocketbooks. I don't like them. I don't need one. I don't understand. I don't know why anyone would spend that much money on a pocketbook. That's crazy. Well, to each their own. That's the point. But I'm not offended by your pocketbook. I don't care. It doesn't enter the lexicon of my life other than to kind of goof at you a little. And if you want to goof at me for my tattoos, perfectly fine. We'll probably become friends. But if you walk away going like, tattoo, ooh, that guy must be a criminal murderer type. Well, we're not going to be friends, And so this roast, what's funny to me also is that Kevin Hart's early stand-up was raunchy as fuck. He did some stuff. I still see some early Kevin Hart and I go, I can't believe they don't replay all this stuff all the time because it's really dark and raunchy. And, because he's known as this cute. He's cute. He's Kevin Hart. He's in the movies with The Rock and this and that. He did a lot of comedy where he picked on Shaq and basketball players, LeBron, so he became famous for that. And did stuff about his grandpa and stuff and all his family stuff. It's cute. It's lovely. He did earlier stuff that was whack, like edgy when he was on a lot of more of the black shows with Ari Spears and, coming up in that day when you had the Kings of Comedy guys and Chris Tucker and Eddie Murphy was fading out, and there was a bunch of who were the new guys coming up after like the Eddie Murphy thing, and Kevin Hart kind of was in that, and he always played up on his height and blackness and all kinds of stuff. Cat Williams, the same thing. That's not for everyone. Some people are offended at the N-word. I'm not allowed to say the N-word, even though I've been listening to comedy since Richard Pryor, and I've listened to 90% of the rap albums ever made, but I'm still not allowed to say the N-word. But I have to. How could I not say the N-word after watching Cat Williams go, he's the biggest nigga in all of niggerdom? Well, that's funny. It's not a misuse of the word. It's not abusive. He's goofing on a style. He's talking about pimping. I grew up in 70s Brooklyn. Pimping is like my thing. Look at my hat. I grew up on this shit. You didn't. And if you didn't, great. It's wonderful. If you grew up on daytime television and soap operas and watching women's, interviewers, The View type shows, why would you do roast comedy? But there's women in roast comedy, People who will be offended at the stuff are going to be offended at Sarah Silverman, at Pete Davidson, at Kevin Hart, at The Rock, at Shaq, at everybody, because they're being real. They're in love with their character. They're in love with this weird marketing thing. They're in love with these happy-go-lucky Sunday schmoes. Kevin Hart's early comedy was hard R to X rated. So if you can't handle that, then you can't handle roasts. And if you can't handle roasts, no problem. But don't comment. You don't comment on the roast or don't give us your opinion, and I won't talk about your, whatever you do. Or that I won't, because I don't care. I don't find it offensive. I don't find it funny. I don't find it interesting. I don't care what you shop, what you wear, what you watch, what you eat, what you read. I know what's good. I don't need you to tell me it's good or it's bad. If it's funny, I know. You don't have to tell me. And if you tell me it's offensive and not funny, I know it's even funnier. I know it's better because it offended you. And if it offended you, that means I liked it more. That means the comedian liked it more. That means it did better. That's the point of the roast. It's not even to get laughs. Laughs are easy. These are professional comedians, pro skills. The idea is to get cringe, to get groans, to get people like, to get them out of to get them off the fourth through the fourth wall, to get them where they go, to get them where you're doing your bits and they're all groaning and you go, I got you all, fuck you all. Oh, they go, fuck you, you know. That's when you know you won. The cringe, the groan is the greatest fucking part. That means you won. And if it's a bad, awful groan, it doesn't matter because these guys are so good. They hit so many hits and singles, doubles, triples, and home runs that when they strike out once in a while, that's funny too. That's when you reach that level of pro, you can fail funny. Johnny Carson was a career of failing funny. He would tell a joke that wasn't even that funny and just stand there and just sit there, and it was funny because his mannerism, his face. He knew the joke sucked. He did it anyway because he knew the suckiness of the joke was as good as a good joke because of his skill to deliver it and have people stare and have the camera zone in on his face and make some mannerisms, which I'm sure he trained and studied and practiced and did in clubs and did across the world and in vaudeville and in hotels and all good. You don't just get good at it because you feel like it. So you don't get to go on the next day and go, I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like that they called Kevin Hart short black. Fuck off. Kevin Hart's been busted on himself and others for 25 years, 30 years. It's you who've been watching crap, listening to crap, not knowing good stuff is out there in the world. Or it's not for you. It's fine. Hockey's not for everyone. I don't want it to be. Even hockey people come in and they're like, I love hockey for the fights. Or I hate hockey because of the fights. I'm like, hockey isn't about fights. If you understand the context of the checking and the fights and the penalties and the chippiness and the head games and the enforcer versus the goal scorer, and the dynamics, then suddenly all that takes on a whole new thing. Fighting isn't the essence of the game. It's not the reason to come in or out. It's not a reason to like it or not like it. It's a small part of a professional thing that you don't know anything about. But if you learn about it, you're going to realize where the fighting comes in. Why? They're down 3-0 in the middle of the second period. Why does a guy start a fight for no reason? Why? Because it's a momentum changer. It's gone on for 100 years. That's how the sport is played. You rile your team up, you get your team going, your goalie starts getting involved. You ever see a team where there's a goalie fight? That usually means when team's getting their ass kicked or it's very close. Because there's a certain edginess, there's a certain battle mentality. You're holding sticks and you're wearing full regalia gear, so you don't get hurt that bad. That's why hockey fights are funny, because they're punching each other in the helmet and you're going, great punch! It's like, he just broke his hand. It's not a great punch, but it's part of the thing. It's an uncorking of stress and agita of everybody on the rink, because they're all pent up, and it's fast and it's hard and it's hitting a lot, and sticks and blades and ice. All words that sound pretty freaking intense and scary, right? So if you're not into those kind of things, if you don't ride roller coasters, if you're into Teddy Ruxpin and Disney and the Golden Girls, you're probably not going to be a hockey fan. Great! You have yours, I have mine. But I don't go on social media the next day to talk about yours, to rip into yours as though I know anything about it. I don't go, oh, that Louis Vuitton bag's a fake. I'm sure some people do. Do that. That's your thing. Go there and talk about the Louis Vuitton bag. Go talk about Teddy Ruxpin. Talk about Blue's Clues. Go talk about whatever you people talk about, The View or whatever. But leave sports and comedy to us who have actual skin in the game, interest in the game, who can understand comedy and take a joke. Or let me at least teach you. Let me explain how roast comedy works so that you're not so easily offended that you miss out on one of the great joys of life, which is making each other laugh and cringe and groan and still having a hug and a kiss and a drink together after, and still being friends and being bigger friends, better friends, because we could take a joke and we're there for each other in the hardest moments. One of my friends, and this is out of context again, but good friend lost his dad. And he told me everybody called up and just was kissing his ass and blowing smoke up his ass. And I had called him and left him a message. And I said something like, if you think I'm going to be nice to you just because your dad died, you're fucking crazy. Something like that. And he called back. He was like, oh, I needed that so bad. He goes, all I've been getting all day is just, drunk, just sad. And he's like, I just needed a quick ball busting. I felt so much better. That's how it works. So know your audience. Know what you're into. Know what you're not into. If you don't like tattoos, don't get one. Don't hang around a tattoo shop. Go tell people what you want, but expect to sound dumb. Expect to sound goofy. Expect to sound out of place. And you're the person who needs to be excommunicated. You're the one I can't really talk to, because I can't have dialogue with you about it. You already made up your mind about something you don't know. So what kind of dialogue is there? So I don't know. Comedy's great. I hope the roast kicks ass. I hope it offends everybody it's supposed to offend. That would be great. Peace out. Have a great day. Love you all.